Sometimes when I'm thinking about us, before we got lost and we parted, back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight, this time we're not safe and sound. Not safe and sound. Back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight, this time we're not safe and sound. Not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the FPV News. Good to see you, Blunty.
Good to see you, Joshua. How's it going?
It's going very well. It's going very well. Can I?
Good.
Oh, yeah, okay. I never mind. I had a headphone
Okay.
thing happen. I wasn't sure I was going to hear you, and it totally threw me off. Let's do it again. Good to see you, Blunty. How are you doing this? Let's keep the energy high.
Good to see you. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing
I hope
good.
you're having a wonderful day.
I did. It was supposed to, let me tell you what, it was supposed to rain this evening. It didn't. It was sunny. It was beautiful. And I charged some packs, and I did some flying in the simulator while the packs were charging, and then came here. But it was looking outside the window while I was playing simulator and charging packs. It was nicer than if it was raining. So.
All right. Well, that's positive.
You get any more SnowRunner playing in?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, Blunty and I played some SnowRunner. It's nice.
Yeah.
We had I keep going back to the thinking about doing some kind of video game something with you. You know, talking about video games. I don't know. We're both.
Yeah. You say you don't play that many video games, but then we talk about video games, and you've got insight and knowledge.
I always have thoughts about video games. I just don't play any recent video games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, well, I appreciate that. It was really fun. It was like my family was out of town, so I don't know why, but I felt like I had more free time. I don't know. Just that space in my brain that my kids occupy was empty, and I spent like 3 hours playing SnowRunner with you, so it was a real treat. You know what else is a real treat? Being here with all these beautiful people for the FPV News.
Doing the FPV News, absolutely. I agree.
It is a treat, and we're very glad to have you guys here and to tell you about the latest developments in the world of FPV. And we're going to start out. We're going to start out with an announcement, Blunty. Hang on, I'm going to change the title. We're going to call this a public service announcement just because I didn't make a separate title for it. It's an announcement of a kind, and kind of a big one, and it relates to you. What's going on in your life?
Yeah, so I talked to Dave Messina today, and I am now officially the 5th member of the core team of the FPV Freedom Coalition. So I will be assisting them in many different endeavors, I think mainly like law-related and FAA-related and stuff, hopefully diving in head first and helping out with all that stuff. So.
That's super exciting. I think a lot of people don't have a sense of, they're like, the FPV Freedom Coalition is out there and they want me to be a member, and don't really have a sense of the actual stuff that FPVFC does. And then whenever we or I get on a call with Dave Messina and he talks about all the shit he does, I'm like, this guy's working his ass off in meetings and phone calls and buttonholing people. And now that's going to be you.
Well, hopefully I'll be doing that with him for a while. We'll be getting in there and diving in together and stuff. So there's, one thing he talks about a lot, and I won't go on too long, but, is that one of the reasons you have to do all that stuff, all the boring stuff that a lot of people don't hear about, is because that's how you build the relationships and prove to the FAA that you're trying to play ball. That I'm here to help you with the work groups and develop these laws that you're trying to develop and assist with everybody. And you meet a lot of good people and you develop a lot of good relationships. And that's how we make progress in the hobby and push things forward like we want them. We get those good ins and we learn those, we spend that good time and then cash it in to help out. So.
Yeah, and speaking of cashing in, I hear you're also going to be making that sweet FPV FC salary. Because when Dave was on the interview with me, people were like, this guy's bought and paid for. So I guess it's, I don't know, DJI or who is it that's delivering bags of cash to your doorstep?
Yeah, so the only people right now delivering bags of cash are individual users. There's a recurring user sponsorship you could do. We've linked it down in the show notes. If you want to help out the FPVFC or buy a t-shirt, you could always do that as well. But it's all nonprofit. It's a 501c, and nobody takes a salary currently. So
yeah, just that was actually volunteer. I wanted to give you the opportunity to say that for the record. Nobody at the FPV Freedom Coalition takes a salary. It's all volunteer work, and also nobody's getting any secret payoffs. You guys are just working for the world of FPV, and it's good to have somebody like you on the inside because you are 100%. A part of the world of FPV. I know some people look at Dave and they're like, who's this old guy? What is he? Does he fly drones? And in fact, he does. Yeah. But
absolutely. He has the same issue a lot of us do. He has more quads than he can fly. So he's in the same boat. I think a lot of people don't know that for sure. But hopefully I can help be more representative to our hobby. There's other folks in there too, 507RC and stuff who's there.
Dave is, I don't want to take too long on this because we have other news we're going to get to, but I feel like I need to ask you, and there's no better time to ask you a question than on the air. I know that Dave is, I've always been so impressed with how tactful and, let's just say, political Dave can be, that he has a great way of advocating for his points and his constituents while still not sticking his thumb in anybody's eye, Yes. And I don't know how to say this, but I don't have that same feeling about you. And I wonder if you have any thoughts about that.
You got to consider what
you seem very willing to stick your thumb in people's eyes, but I've never seen you in this role before, so it may be different. Sorry, go ahead.
Right, exactly. I'm sticking my thumb in people's eyes as me, right?
Okay.
Versus if I'm representing a group of people, it's different, right? So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you're going to do great. I'm sure Dave wouldn't have picked you if he wasn't right, and that's going to be great. All right, man. Congratulations. Next up, we have images of the Walksnail 1S video transmitter. Surely this is a typo because HDZero is the one with a 1S video transmitter for tiny whoops. That's all. They've got low latency and they've got a lightweight 1S video transmitter, Blunty. Don't take this away from them.
Well, Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you are, we're gonna have to take something away. It's still, I'm sure the HDZero is still lighter. We don't have an exact weight. We don't have an exact weight directly. I'm not sure which link you clicked, but
I clicked. This is a Discord link. No, I'm sorry. I clicked.
Yep.
I apologize. I clicked the wrong link.
So
that's my bad.
yeah. So basically, we got 2 posts here. About the Walksnail Mini 1S, the Avatar board. So we've heard this was in production. We see this has still that Xilinx cover on it, so this may have been produced a while back. We really don't know how that works yet. But yeah.
Yeah, so we've got Avatar V1 1S board, 3 volts to 5 volts, single antenna. Let's see here. We got another picture here.
You say single antenna. So one thing you can notice if you check out the other pictures is there's actually another mark for an antenna on that. If you go back, that first link, there's a
yeah, that's this one. No, that's this one.
Yeah, there's 3 pictures there.
Oh! I don't know how Twitter works.
So there's a second antenna. So I'm not sure, that's not populated in the pictures. We don't know exactly what that's for yet, or I haven't heard yet. But it does seem exciting that they've got something coming up that's going to be this small. Right now, the Whoop, it's a 75 millimeter. I'm going to guess that's not as light as it can get, and it's probably with an existing Walksnail camera. I'm not sure that we've seen anything about a new camera yet, and that's at 39.5. So it remains to be seen what the final weight will be and the final cameras and stuff. But it definitely is exciting to see, and definitely what Walksnail's promised us, moving forward. So. And
I think that I mean, obviously Nate Payne is going to take that thing and he's going to get it down to 19 grams. He's going to. There's a lot of room to make it lighter, especially if they do like HDZero did and come up with a really, really small camera. Yes. We don't know what the weight. Do we know what the weight of the board by itself is?
No, that was not posted. The only thing they've got is that 75 millimeter put together for 39.5.
Yeah, so, which is chunky. What would you expect an analog quad to come in at that same class?
I mean, it's been so long since I built a 75. I'm not sure offhand. Probably like 30. But somebody, I'm sure the comments and people can tell us the actual weight. Yeah,
but the upside here is that, and here I go with the Walksnail shilling bags of cash on the porch. Of course, Walksnail has pretty consistently delivered the things that they said they would deliver. Now, of excellent image quality and consistent latency. Still working on that one. But they said they would deliver certain features, and they have delivered them in a timely manner. They the bricking, the ability to brick the goggles, they fixed that. They said they were going to come out with a 1S VTX. We see this. It's obviously not available to retail yet. They've said that they're going to do a standalone receiver module, and they haven't done that yet. But it is nice to see a company saying they're going to do things and then sort of doing them.
Yeah.
Right? That's good.
Absolutely. So we'll keep an eye out for when this actually releases and what it costs and where it looks like and the reliability and all that stuff. But it is exciting to see it in production. So it is.
So that's coming. Very nice. Keep up the good work, Walksnail. Next up, we've got what might be one of the most exciting pieces of news, which is I closed the wrong window, which is the GoPro Hero 11. Some images have leaked today. They were all over the internet. What do we got here, Blunty?
Yeah, we got 2 sets of images. So the first leak we got was a couple days ago, and it was the Hero 11 Black, which is coming out. It's going to have a better sensor, but otherwise pretty similar to the Hero 10. That's the report anyway. 27 megapixel versus like 23 megapixel. So kind of an idea of what the difference of the sensor is. Mm-hmm. That's like the stills shoot at. But otherwise, pretty similar specs to the Hero 10.
And I thought
4K 120 and stuff.
I thought that's fine, but the Hero 10 is already too gosh darn big. And it's too big and heavy, and I don't want it. And that's why I was very excited to see this. The Hero 11 Black Mini. And everyone said, that's got to be fake, right? And I don't think it is. For reasons that I won't go into. I think this is a legit product.
I can say just from my side, if you consider the source, which is WinFuture, Wind Future has a pretty good track record with this kind of stuff, and they say that these are like marketing renders, so I'm inclined to believe them. But yeah, if that's true, we're getting basically what looks to be a thinned down, like basically a professional version of the Bones almost, right? Because when we got the Bones was like a slimmed down version of the Hero 10. It was just remove the screens and they put like a quick case they kind of had on it with the same size board and stuff. This looks to be like they took a second to design a smaller board to fit in this, or built the Hero 11 around this idea. You know, we'll find out when the Hero 11s get torn down. But yeah, they were able to take the screens out and then give us this solution. So, you know, the Bones cost the same as the Hero 10. We'll see what this cost is, you know. I'd be concerned that this is still going to cost the same amount, but still people will be all over this. I mean,
I would buy this over an 11 because it doesn't have screens to break.
100%.
And it's the weight is lighter.
I think a lot of people are going to be on that boat.
I heard someone told me that the weight of the 11 Mini was about the same as a Hero 7 used to be, which is like, okay, I would rather, I mean, a Hero 7 was that weight and had screens, which I kind of liked, but
so like 120 grams, 110 grams, somewhere in there is what
somewhere in there, yeah. 110 to 130-ish. So could this be a way to get a Hero 11 image quality with increased durability, and finally we don't have the chunky weight of the Hero 10?
Sure, and we also see they've got those, DJI connectors and stuff. So depending on what you're trying to do with it, those like fold downs. It looks like the ones on the bottom,
the
and
labia,
on the back,
as someone once called them.
Yeah, on the bottom and on the back, they have sets of them. So you could probably remove those. I think FiCheck pointed that out. And if you remove those, the weight would be like 7.5 grams per set, which would be maybe like 15 grams off. So maybe 100 gram instead of 110 or 115. Yeah. So just some considerations to make. Maybe we take the battery door off like people do. You know, there's
look at this. I thought at first that it had a built-in battery, but this is clearly a battery door. And
it definitely looks like a battery door for sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's clearly a battery door, right?
Yeah,
that's obviously what it is. Look at this.
So.
It's got the pad here. It does look like it has a different size battery than the standard Heroes, though. It looks, if we assume that that's the width of the battery, it would have maybe the same battery as the 360 cam with the thin battery. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's even more weight savings though if you pull those out and then power it. So
Empire in the Discord, that's a good point. Empire thinks it could be a USB port connector, and it has a built-in battery. That would make a lot of sense too. That's a good point. That would make sense. I don't know. We don't know. But when I saw this, I said, wait a minute. Haven't people in the live stream chat have occasionally said, "Oh, I promise you, my neighbor's best friends saw Ferris Bueller at the 31 Flavors, and he had a GoPro Hero Session 6. GoPro's coming out with a new session." And I thought, is this that? But I don't think it is.
Yeah, from what we're hearing, it's not. And from what we're hearing, actually, it is. There's a new session on the horizon. We've heard this in multiple different places. But yeah, one of the users that posted in the Discord today, but he was told the Session 6 is in the works. And I said, yeah, I've been told that a bunch of times. And he said, well, actually, Vanover was at his house, and he was talking about his involvement in it. There's just no physical evidence. So that's kind of interesting.
So why was Vanover at this dude's house? I'm confused.
He was delivering him some drones. He had like 2 binding flies that he was selling him, and he was delivering them to them.
Vanover, is this like he bought Rotor Riot binding flies, or he just bought some binding flies from Vanover directly?
I think I don't know if it's through Rotor Riot or not, but I think Vanover is starting to sell binding flies now. Like he said they were serial number 1 and 2.
He hand builds them. He's doing the Mr. Steel thing where you charge people $1,700 for a $500 binding fly.
Yeah, I don't know what they cost.
And you lick it before it goes out the door, and then that adds $1,200 to the price.
Yeah,
roughly. That's.
You'll have to ask if they were licked. I'm not sure.
Okay. I don't know how much Vanover is charging. But he said that Vanover was at his house and confirmed that the Hero Session 6 was a thing.
Yeah.
And that he was working on it.
Yeah. And that matches up with some of the things we've heard in the background from other people and from sources and stuff. So
I'm even more. I mean, if Vanover, If this guy said that Vanover said that on my Discord, then clearly take that to the bank. But I think that's exciting because, like, which would I rather have? A 120 to 130-ish gram Hero 11 or a 75 or something? I mean, that's what the old session was. So, or 70 or 80 gram session.
So,
I mean,
but then we have to consider, right? So why, if this Black Mini is real, what does it provide over a Session 6 that's going to be smaller? Like, why is the Black Mini more weight? Right.
I mean, presumably it's going to have a larger sensor.
Right.
Presumably it's going to do like 5.6K, whereas presumably, I mean, I can't see GoPro putting out a camera that doesn't do 4K, but the Session 6 may have like shitty 4K and not really
like 4K 60 or lower bit rate maybe, or so. Like, I'm just thinking, like, what's the trade-off? And then are all the pilots willing to make that trade-off for a session versus a square that's 40 grams bigger? I don't know, but I agree that a lot of people are clamoring for that session.
Z Carizales says the session was only like 52 grams. Shows how long it's been. I remembered it being closer to 70. I could be wrong.
I was just assuming like we're upscaling for future, but yeah, I mean, if they could get down to 50, that would be a huge difference. For sure.
Well, I will. You remember the DJI Avata came out and people said, "Are you going to review it?" And I was like, I don't know if it's worth spending $1,300 to review this effing thing. And then I see Mads Tech and all his videos about it are getting shitloads of views, and I'm like, can I not just no? But anyway, but I will be the first in line to buy these cameras and test them out. I'll tell you what, I'm super excited. I did just buy 4 Hero 8s to be my new like stable of action cameras. So I'm probably not going to switch to this until I break all my 8s.
This is like deja vu with Action 2s.
I bought 2 Action 2s and I just could not bring myself to go on a Rotor Riot trip and turn in that footage with that image. And like Drew flies the Action 2 and his footage was in the episode and I thought his flying was great. His footage looked like shit. And I just couldn't do it. I literally went to Best Buy the day before I left on this trip and I bought 4 Hero 8s. And I have 2 Action 2s. One of them has insurance on it and is broken and I'm going to exchange it. And maybe I'll save that gift card and get one of these. But Carlos FPV says the Session 5 is 72.6 grams. I did remember correctly.
Oh, well, there you go.
It wasn't. What's 50 grams? It's got to be like the Runcam Orange or something that's 50 grams. I don't know.
Maybe if you take the battery out of the Session or something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Vanover still flies Sessions. He refurbs them. He buys them broken off of eBay and he refurbs them himself. He's learned how to do it. That's how much he loves the Session.
Hey, I mean, if you like something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the Attic says, Blunty, don't give Bardwell a hard time. He's sticking up for me. I feel like I can stick up for myself. Yeah, I'm sick, Blunty. Take it easy on me. I'm not well. All right. Well, we got more action camera leaks. Next up, DJI gets their shot at leaking about their action camera. The DJI Action 3 is here, and I say, big effing deal.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
We'll see. It might be exciting. We don't really have specs, but what we do have is basically what we've reported before, what we've been telling you for a while, which is that the Action 3 is going back to that Osmo Action GoPro form factor. Mm-hmm. It's going to be that more GoPro style, as you can see there in front of us. Mm-hmm. And then the other picture we've got another picture there from Deal's drone. It just shows another angle of it. Not too much going on the leak side of those pictures. But then we also got today, DJI announced that they have a program on the 14th, which seems like it's going to be the launch of the Action 2 or Action 3.
Okay.
So not too far away.
And the image quality needs to be better than the Action 2.
Oh, 100%.
It just needs to be better for it to even be a consideration.
We talked about in the leaks, it'll be Hasselblad Tech is supposedly the idea, and it'll be 10-bit color.
That's exciting. 10-bit color has a lot of potential. You can have a shitty sensor with poor dynamic range, but if you give me 10-bit color, I'll be more likely to be able to like pull something out of that. Maybe.
Yeah.
but better if you just have good effing dynamic range.
Yeah,
Cole Anderson, I feel personally attacked by your comment, which probably means I should not respond to it because I'm going to overreact. But Cole Anderson says the Action 2 is better than most people say. Most FPV people don't know how to use cameras properly or edit well. You get the
pow, 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 pow.
Get out of my chat. Most of them don't, but I do. And if I don't, I have a professional editor and colorist who works for me. And I asked him, now that I have Fabio working for me, I always just say to him, Fabio, what do you think of the color science on this camera? And he gives me insights that I never would have. But I know a thing or two about photography, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that the Action 2 has terrible dynamic range. Just terrible. McRon wants to know what's my problem with the Action 2. The dynamic range is two things. Very bad dynamic range, and the exposure algorithm is extremely slow. So you'll fly from darkness into light, and for a second and a half, the exposure will be dark or overexposed, and then it'll stop down. And you're like, no. All right, but we're not going to rant about the Action 2 because this is the news. Cole Anderson says it wasn't directed at me. I mean, you can get, I'm not saying you can't get okay results from it. You absolutely can, and people do. But I'm just saying it is heading so far back from a GoPro, and it's painful. It's just painful. And it's just not worth it. Okay. To me. Okay. Coming up, we got another. Sorry, Blunty, but the chat wanted to know. I had to. Can't ignore the chat, Blunty. We got another leak from Insta360, the Insta360 X3. A new camera from them, a new 360 camera.
Yeah, the sequel to the X2.
Sure.
Has now been leaked by, the same folks as we talked about earlier. Wind Future has the info on the Insta360 X3. And yeah, it's supposedly going to be, basically updated image sensors so you can get 4K in single lens. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. So one side of this can do 4K, or both sides can do that 5.7K. Time lapse in 8K. Looks like it's going to be heavier and a bigger screen. So maybe not directly directed at us, but yeah, might be an option, especially if you're trying to get 360 stuff.
Yeah. Now this isn't the 1-inch sensor from the X2, right? Was that the X2? I can't remember. They just released a new one that has a 1-inch sensor that everybody was gaga over it. But this doesn't have a 1-inch sensor.
Not sure.
Okay. Well, if you're into 360 cams, there you go.
Yeah, I don't think they list the sensor size.
The X1 it's a nice package for a handheld action cam or a 360 cam. It's not really great for putting on a drone though. The 1R is the better one.
1R. Okay. That's it.
Yeah.
So this will be out in 2 days, so we'll see full specs then when it releases, and maybe people will be interested. But since we're talking about all the other action cams today, we figured we'd throw it on the list.
All right. Well, Dominic Clifton is tired of hearing about cameras. I can see him complaining in the chat. So let's move on.
Well, he'll be happy to know that's the last camera. Camera bit.
Instead, let's punish everyone with plugs. It's 6:30. It's halfway through the stream. It's the perfect time to do some sponsor spots. And the only sponsors of this live stream are us, me and Blunty. We're going to just plug it. People are they're like, hey, do you want to do an ad read for, and I'm like, why would I ad read for your product and you're going to pay me some pittance of money when I can just ad read for myself and they can pay me directly? And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. So first off, we've got fpvknowitall.com, where you can find the ultimate FPV shopping list for all your needs. If you're trying to find whatever you need to buy to get into the hobby or start a certain part of it or just upgrade something, there's a nice list that's curated by you and a couple other folks to find the best options for people to buy.
Yeah, whenever you're not sure what to get and you're wondering what does Bardwell recommend, these are not the only good parts in FPV, but they're parts that I feel like I can stand behind, and it's great Great place to start. All this stuff, and how does it support me? All of these are affiliate links, almost all, not all. And that means that when you click that link and you make any purchase at the affiliated store, in fact, if you want to, you can go to support me and you can just click any of these links and then go do your shopping and get a little commission. It costs you nothing. And it's a very nice way to support the channel. But I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one on this stream. Blunty is here too. And I think we're all glad that he is. And you can support Blunty by joining his Patreon. He has his own Patreon. And also, he does one-on-one calls. If you want somebody to get on the phone with you, you can go to itsblunty.com. He'll get on the phone, do Zoom support with you at a very, very reasonable rate. Let's see, Blunty. What else are we shilling right now? Oh, the live stream clips channel.
Got the Joshua Bardwell live stream clips channel, where if you missed this stream or you missed the Q&A streams that happen on Sundays or Mondays, you can get those showing up later, all the good ones showing up later on the Joshua Bardwell live stream clips channel.
Yeah.
So today we had your favorite 3D printer, what you use as a daily, and some 3D printer discussions. Yesterday we talked about the DJI leaks, so all that kind of stuff. So.
I really love looking at this, Blunty, because like I just get on a live stream and I talk for 2 hours and I'm like, yeah, that was fun. But really seeing you go through the live streams and you cut this stuff out, so thank you for that. And seeing these little nuggets of information that would just be lost in the live stream, it's like there's a lot of good stuff here, and I think more people should subscribe. So get on over there.
Absolutely. Trying to hit 5K.
5K, baby. 5K. We're going to do it. Somebody in the chat asked why I don't have more European stores on the FPV shopping list. And the short version is that like 50 or 60% of the traffic is from the USA. And it's European stores are more reluctant to do affiliate stuff because their margins are lower, I think. I don't know if that's always true. And it would just be such a hassle to manage 60 different affiliate programs from 20 different countries or whatever. And so unfortunately, you can still go there and you can still pick the products and then buy the products from your local store. And I forgive you for not giving me an affiliate cut. That's on me, really. There's no forgiveness. But I do want to point out that searchfpv.com, the new FPV search engine that Eirik Toft is building, they have added some non-US stores, including Drone Authority in the UK and X-Flight in, I believe that's Israel. And there's more coming. There's more coming. I think we've got some in the UK and Germany. Eirik is working hard to get affiliates in there. And I guess, it's much easier to add 1 million stores to this search site than it is to add them to my individual website. So if you are a non-US customer, searchfpv.com may be more and more useful to you as time goes on. So we are thinking of the non-USians. We think of them and then we think, too bad I can't help them, and then move on. But sometimes we help, I guess. Okay, that's it. That's our plugs. Let's get on with the news. All
right. Back to more DJI news. I'm sure everybody's excited about that. We just want to tell you real quick about the DJI Avata. So folks might remember or might know, if you've got the DIY system, you've got a air unit or a Vista, and you've got the goggles, you might know that to unlock power or region, you use a text file. And you just plug that text file right in there, and basically when you plug that text file in, it's going to unlock the thing for you because the text file's there. It's like DJI kind of put in an unlock mode in there. And so it's come out today. Matsek made a video on it from Quad Mula as the original source. That now you can do this with the Avata. They've got the same thing in the Avata, where you basically empty file with a certain file name, and then you load that file into the SD card root, and then boom, it unlocks it, and you get FCC mode on the Avata. Yeah,
and a lot of people in non-FCC areas are going to be real happy to see this, because that 25 milliwatts of output power is not a lot.
We should say, this is kind of odd, because we've seen them basically roundabout, whether they meant to or not, block FCC Hack, through the new firmware on the DJI FPV Potato. And now instead we've gotten a text file to unlock the Avata. So it's kind of interesting that the difference there. And hopefully it means good things moving forward and that they're more open and they're willing to do this kind of thing. So, and we'll get similar things on the OcuSync 3 Air unit that will be coming later this month.
Yeah, they seem to understand that the FCC Hack is necessary because at the end of the day, like if you bought your drone in Europe and then you moved to the United States or you were doing a job in the United States, you would legitimately and legally need to be able to change the region. Likewise, if you, God forbid, if you moved from the United States to Europe, you would need to lock your drone down. Is there a hack that goes the other direction?
I'm not sure. Normally the FCC mode, you type in the number and that's what it sets, but it does not appear. There might be a different command to enable it. Because it seems like you just put, just this empty file name on there and that's what happens. So maybe somebody will find the other version.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, good that they've done this and good that thanks to Mads Tech and Quadmula for putting it out there.
Yep. I imagine you could remove it by resetting the drone as well.
Oh,
just
yeah,
for
good
consideration.
Point. Yeah. But if I register it in the USA, the default will be FCC
I think it's
mode.
just where my understanding is it's where you flash the firmware. But that might not be accurate. But my understanding is it's where you flash the firmware.
Yeah. Yeah, people in the chat are talking about my keyboard. I just want to say blues are the best. Blues are the best. But if you have to interact with any other humans, blues will get you murdered. Like, if you don't take your Cherry MX Blue keyboard into prison, because you will get shanked. Because you'll just be tackety, 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 and somebody's going to be like with a toothbrush.
All right, I'll put that down on my list of things important life lessons to remember.
Yeah, you need
don't
silent.
Take my MX Blues into the prison.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Browns are the live streams. It was way too loud for live streams. And so I actually had a moment where I thought about keeping the blue keyboard and only using, and then having a second keyboard that I used for live streams. But I was like, that's too much. Reds are no good for. Yeah.
You got to get that AI filtering so you can type and then it just removes all your keys.
I thought about it. I didn't like it. I tried reds. I tried everything but browns, for the record. I bought and returned like 5 keyboards because you could buy a key tester and it's just not the same as typing on the keys. I tried like 5 different switches before I finally went, fine, I'll get browns. And sure enough, browns were fine. So, if you don't keep up with mechanical keyboards and keyboard switches, none of that made sense to you. But if you do, then you know that browns are like the most boring, plebeian, like losers. Oh, you got married, you had kids, you gained 30 pounds, and you got Cherry MX brown switches for your keyboard because your wife couldn't handle the blues. That's me. Okay.
Yeah.
Walksnail Avatar Q&A.
Yeah, next up, Chris Rosser has shared a Q&A on his Discord. I talked to him about it, and he said he was happy to let us share it on the news. So we've got, we're going to talk about the Q&A he had with Walksnail, which is kind of enlightening for some of the things that we've heard so far moving forward. Mm-hmm. So, the whole Q&A will be down in the video description if you'd like to check it out. Mm-hmm. As always, we presented that for you. However, basically some of the interesting things I thought, they talk about how, as they said before, they come out of CADX US. They have a 60-person R&D team. Not sure where that number is coming from. That seems very high, right?
That's a big number.
Seems really high.
Number. Yeah.
Yeah. You think they mean like testers, or like do you think they mean like
that makes actually I didn't know how to interpret it. That makes sense. How many engineers does Orca say they have on staff?
Yeah.
Do they say?
I'm not sure. I can't remember, but it wasn't. I don't think it was 60. Like that we're doing this work, Right. And when
Orca says we have X number of engineers, I think they're probably not fudging the number. When they say R&D staff, maybe they're counting test pilots. That I could see them getting to 60 because they've got 20 sponsored pilots or whatever.
They do say with unique experience in encoding, decoding, and image processing. So they suggest they're like specialized employees, but I don't know. It is interesting. Some of the other things they talk about here are they said that Fat Shark manufactures the Avatar goggles for them.
Yeah, that I don't. Fat Shark. I asked Alan Evans, the what was he, the vice president at the time of Fat Shark, and he said definitively. I was like, "What's the deal with these Avatar goggles?" Because this was, and he said, "We don't make them." Definitively, he said they are not made in our factory. And I was like, "Well, clearly they're like, it's clearly the same mold." And right. And he was like, yep, interesting. And the impression that I got was that their story was that somehow Walksnail had gotten access to the injection mold, whether they got the CAD files or the actual factory made the shells for them. You know, like if somebody from Walksnail called up the factory and said, "Hey, can you run off another 1,000 shells for us?" And they're like, "Sure, buddy." And didn't realize, I don't know, that it was like Fat Shark's IP. But he definitively said they don't make them. And the implication was that Walksnail is manufacturing them with identical molds somewhere else.
I gotta say, sure does make a lot more sense that Fat Shark would be making them. And I don't see any reason Walksnail would lie about it. And I see reasons Fat Shark would lie about it. So to me, like, I definitely believe this more than him. 100%. Like 1,000% more. Like, you know, they even say here, Dominator and Avatar goggles are products of our cooperation. You know, when we talked about this, we talked about how confusing it was and it didn't make a lot of sense. But you know what makes a lot more sense? That Fat Shark doesn't own anything what they say they do, and they just make both sets of goggles. You know?
I agree that makes more sense.
Our goggles are open to any company. Our goggles are open to any company. We have a lot of other customers working on different products that will come out soon.
But you go to a CEO, you go to a VP, and they're going to not necessarily tell you the 100% whole truth because they have a design in mind, an end in mind for the outcome of what they want you to think and believe about their company, and they want to shape that. But they're not going to just lie to you. Because if they do and they get caught in a lie, that's bad for them. They lose credibility. And so for him to have said, "We don't make those goggles, they are not made in our factory." And I should go back and I should check the quote. You know, I'm pretty sure that was like a very, because I pressed him on it. And now Walksnail says, "Yeah, Fat Shark makes those." It's just so inconceivable that the communication would be this disjointed to me.
Yeah. I mean, all I'm going to say is so far what we've had is we basically had, I don't know how you want to put it, but basically to me, I've seen Fat Shark be coy and bullshitty, and Walksnail just post the real things over and over again. Fat Shark is coy and bullshitty and dodges questions and doesn't tell you answers and doesn't want to talk about Walksnail and doesn't say who a partner is and anything. And Walksnail posts about who they are and says they have the goggles and says they have the VTXs and tells you exactly what it does and posts all the firmware and communicates with users. So to me, when I look at the two sets of pieces of information, why would I believe the company that has been coy and weird with me instead of the company that cares about the technology and that like,
and
you know what I mean? Like
Fat Shark's a sort of tone, and I don't want to attribute specific quotes to them, but the sort of general tone and attitude that I have gotten from Fat Shark has been, it's hard to work with this company. We're doing our best. You know, they're not, we're trying to do this launch, like they tried to do the launch and the Walksnail website wasn't up. And Fat Shark was like, "Yeah, our partner wants to remain private." And then the Walksnail website went up and Alan was kind of like, he kind of had an eye-rolly vibe. And was like, "Here's the website." And it's like, right. You know, we're trying to do this launch and this other company is not really playing ball and they're launching their website and they weren't supposed to. And I thought they were secret. And they've got this frustrated feel like Walksnail's jerking them around. But maybe that's actually all bullshit, is what you're suggesting.
I mean, I think it's more bullshit than we expected because, again, like I've said 100 times, and I will continue to harp on, they presented VTXs and cameras labeled as Walksnail. You can't you cannot play coy and then not paint over the Walksnail logo on cameras.
Right.
Like there's a level of confusion and frustration, and you don't get to have both ways. That's the way I look at that. I think they fucked up. They were annoyed they fucked up, and in reality, they fucked up something that everyone was going to find out anyway, and didn't matter. And they were annoyed that not only did they fuck up by putting shit on the camera, but then Walksnail came out and told people. And you know what? As far as I know, Walksnail came out and told people because people were posting pictures of the Walksnail cameras from Rampage.
Right. Like, clearly it's Walksnail.
Yeah.
For Walksnail to say, Fat Shark is our customer and our partner, that if that's not just a translation issue, that casts the relationship of Fat Shark and Walksnail as not one of sort of peers co-developing the goggles, but as Walksnail sort of makes this thing and Fat Shark is buying it from them.
Well, we know that, right? So that's the idea, right? Is that that's like this all lines up with exactly what we think happened, which is that Walksnail makes the board, Fat Shark makes the goggles.
We know that.
Walksnail sends boards to Fat Shark to make the goggles.
We know that.
The only thing Fat Shark claims doesn't happen is that they don't make the Avatar goggles. But it sure makes a lot of sense that they would also make the Avatar goggles in the same place with the same molds and the same equipment and the same eyepieces and the same setup and the same lines.
I'll say this. Fat Shark and Walksnail, whichever one of them is not communicating along the party line, the other one needs to go slap them and be like, get in, whichever, because if I'm Fat Shark and Walksnail is out there giving misinformation, or if I'm Walksnail and Fat Shark is out there giving misinformation, I'm going to be pissed.
What damage does it do to Walksnail, though, when Fat Shark gives misinformation? To me, it makes Fat Shark look worse and Walksnail look better. So to me, if I was Walksnail, I would just do what I'm doing. Especially when I have a language barrier and I can't be sure exactly what they're saying. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I would be erring on the side of like, stay the course, explain exactly what the relationship is, don't make any bullshit up, and just explain. And that's what seems to be happening. I mean, there is definitely some like fluff, like any company would do, right? As we go through these questions, there's definitely fluff, but there's also like somewhat direct answers, and there's also like, I don't know, I'm not saying Walksnail is like the god or whatever. I'm just saying that like the way they're communicating seems a lot more clear to me.
I agree.
Than Fat Shark. Yeah.
Brundlefly in the Discord, I agree completely. Brundlefly says, if Walksnail makes a video receiver module that works on third-party goggles, then we know who wears the pants in the relationship, because Fat Shark would never do that. And I agree. I've said that. Okay. Any other interesting information from Chris Rosser's Q&A?
There's quite a bit in there. So one thing they said was, let's see. So they talk about working on standalone VRX will be released October, November. Fixed latency mode is in the next version of firmware, maybe. I don't know if they mean next or just the next, how that translation happened. Basically what's the timeline for 1S VTX? They hope they can finish by October or November. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff, basically in here.
Fixed latency mode? Yeah, they're claiming they can do fixed latency mode. If they can, that's huge.
That's what they say. We don't know what it's going to look like, but that's what they say. Well,
so. I don't know how technically you can do a fixed latency mode if you're doing H.265 encoding. It's not. I mean, you could you could do various things to bring the latency down.
Right. Well, I don't know. That's not true, right? Because you just decide how much to compress. Like, there's got to be some compression factor.
Do you just do 100% iframes, essentially?
Yeah. I think there's some factor there, I would imagine, where you're, like, deciding how much to compress based on, like, available time left. I don't know anything about it, but I imagine there's some buffer there where you could live in. But I have no idea. I just want to point out, they say again in another comment, who manufactures the Walksnail goggles? Are they a shared design with Fat Shark? Designed and manufactured by Fat Shark, co-developed by Walksnail.
Yeah,
so they're staying on that manufactured by Fat Shark train.
Okay, that's what they say.
And then on the last set of questions, I do want to point out, which I think is funny. This is probably translation, but it's funny. They say, "Is the Walksnail goggle 6S compatible?" In the last set of
the third one. Yeah. Thank you.
And they say yes, but be careful. So I'm not sure what that means. That's hopefully translation. Yeah. They also say, how long has the product been in the making? About 1 year. But we had heard development was like longer than that in other places. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. The 6S question, Eric Toft in the Discord is commenting that that's a difference between the Walksnail and the Fat Shark goggles. That the Fat Shark goggles are rated for 5S, the Walksnail are rated for 6S. In my opinion, that's just a paper thing.
But almost Fat Shark. I don't know if anybody dove in and looked at the board though. But
yeah, we know that people have run the Fat Shark goggles on 6S and not blown them, and other people have blown them. Yes. And so my guess is that the regulator is rated for, I don't know, like 26 volts or 27 volts or something right on the line. And so Fat Shark was like, look, we're going to call it 5S and play it safe. And Walksnail was like, YOLO. But I don't think that points to the goggles being, I'm like really certain that the hardware is the same on the inside. That's my, I'd bet a substantial amount of money that the hardware is the same on the inside. But, okay. Well, that was all very interesting.
Yeah, that's some good stuff from Chris Rosser. He tried to get an interview, but they didn't want to do a on-video interview, but he did get a Q&A from him. So.
Good. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about something...
What's up, guys? I am very excited about this video because we are back to semi-clever stuff. So
this is Ivan Efimov for Limon that we know from different videos we've shown here. But he's got another video. If you want to know how to get videos on the news, man, you just make good quality videos like this. Like people have asked before, like what do you look for in a video, or what should I make if I start a YouTube channel? This is the kind of content. This is great, right? He dives in, he does funny content, he makes jokes, he posts actual science, he looks from the development side. It's great. And he explains to you basically, if you don't know anything about a low pass filter, he explains to you what a low pass filter is, how it applies to Betaflight, and what effects it has, and just dives all the way in there to explain all of it for you. So I think he does it in a really intuitive way. He draws graphics and animations and has fun the whole time. Yeah, it's kind of like if you ever were in school and you had a really fun teacher, I feel like he's one of those kind of teachers where you're like, oh, it's not actually all about the lesson. We can have fun and like learn things too. And like, I love his content, and it's a good video.
And low pass filters, if you're trying to get into PID tuning and so forth, low pass filters are a critical part of making the quad fly better. And in fact, many people, including me, including Chris Rossers, say that you should tune your filters before you bother tuning your PIDs. First, you get the quad mechanically sound, then you tune the filters, then the PIDs. And there are two types of filters. Yeah.
I was just going to say, you got to have good data. So the only way you can tune is with good data. So you got to filter out so you get the good data, and then you can tune off that data.
Yeah, exactly. So understanding how this works and what it is, if you don't already understand what a low pass is, or if you've wondered what's a PT1, PT2, PT3 biquad, what are the differences, this is the video for you. So thank you for Limon for that. Next up, I actually don't think I put this on the... I don't think I missed this on the titles. No, I did. There's no title for this one, Blunty.
All right. Well, it's a
what
quick one anyway.
Here?
We just wanted to show people something cool. This is the first time we've seen this product available, so we wanted to share it for people. So TBRC has come out with the HD OSD product, which is pretty neat and obviously has been missing when you think about it. Basically, there are plenty of people without a flight controller, and they want to have OSD in their DJI or HDZero goggles, right? So somebody built a little board that gives you cell voltage, total pack voltage, and timer through MSP OSD right into your goggles. So if you've got HD, you can use it without a flight controller.
When I first saw this, I was confused about what it was because there are some analog OSDs like this that just, they take the camera in and they put the camera feed out to the VTX with the OSD on it. But you can't do that with digital. This basically just emulates a flight controller, the TX RX MSP connection, and it sends this basic OSD data to the VTX for situations where you don't have a flight controller. So that's pretty slick. Very slick.
Pretty cool stuff.
So if you fly a lot of wings and you've got a digital VTX and you were lamenting the fact that you couldn't get a proper OSD, now you can. Sort of. A bare bones one.
A little bit. You got something. So.
Yeah, better than nothing.
Yes.
Okay. Nope, that's the wrong button. There we go. Okay. Next up, we have the
GNB.
We're revisiting the question about these GNB connectors. GNB is a connector that came out for Whoop batteries. We have the pH connector, which is the classic, and it has kind of high resistance. It's not really very high performance. You get some voltage drop and wasted energy. And then Beta FPV came out with the BT 2.0 connector, which is superior. And then GNB came out with this GNB connector, which is technically even better, but the first ones had these real problems where they were loose, they were coming unplugged, the fitment was no good. And that's one of the reasons.
Coming through, all kinds of different issues were happening with those guys. But yeah, we've got a post today from Mike Bergman on Facebook in the FPV Cycle group, who has discovered, he at least believes, and it certainly seems to be the case, that GNB has developed a new version of the GNB connector, or Happy Model, I think. Oh, GNB makes it right. GNB has made a new version of the GNB 27 with better quality connectors. And hopefully they won't have the same issues. The new connectors are nice and tight. They might need a wear in or something, but they seem to be like they will likely be a lot more reliable. He points out that if you cut into the old units, sometimes you'll find injected molded plastic in the tubes. And it's like basically the design was rough and was causing issues when they were injected molding them. So hopefully this will fix a lot of the problems people were having with those GNBs.
Yeah, the advantage of the GNBs is that Beta FPV charges, we've estimated that it's about $1 per connector. We don't know for sure, but if you just look at the same battery with a pH connector and a BT 2.0 connector, it's usually about $1 more. And we assume that that's a licensing fee that's going to Beta F. We know they charge a licensing fee for it. The advantage of the GNB connector is it's larger, it's lower resistance and higher current, and you don't have to pay anybody to use it. But it didn't really seem to take off, did it? I mean, like, there aren't a lot of batteries with the GNB connector pre-installed.
I think part of them were because a lot of user complaints from issues like this too, so. And then also, I think we've seen a couple companies try to replicate the GNB, so you just got to make sure you nail the same, the name sizes and stuff. And, there are issues with, like, if you consider that the same pieces are not injection molded by the same company, it's possible they won't have as good a fitment because those molds are going to change over time possibly, and they won't be keeping them up and stuff. So lots of different concerns possibly with different companies making this connector.
What you're saying is that the good thing about BT 2.0 connectors is that they're all made by Beta FPV, so we can be confident that they are consistent and made to the same standard of quality, which is something I never thought I'd hear myself say.
Well, we've been using PH2s forever. They're made by tons of different people. It's just the idea that if you do have two connectors that are made specifically designed and hooked together, and they're made out of the same sets of molds, and the company's maintaining the molds properly and switch them out when they should have a good fitment and a good quality fitment over time, and wearing the same, and you'll know what to expect. Right?
It's being pointed out in the chat that it's called the GNB 27 connector, not the GNB connector. So
sure. It is the only GNB connector. If there's a new one, I'll get technical.
Yeah, it's the GNB 27, Bardwell. Get it right.
You're wrong.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. In episode 7.
All right. Next up.
Hang on. Wait a second. Wait.
If you're ordering a TS100, you might consider, I don't know what you can consider. We're going to give you some information, and you can decide what to do with that information. So some new TS100s have been shipping with Clone MCUs. So that means the STM32s are not the proper STM32. They are a clone from a different company than STM Microelectronics. And in some cases, this is not a problem. And in some cases, as we'll see with the note under the table there, please note that Miniware started shipping TS100s with clone chips. While these do work with Iron OS, their DFU bootloader works terribly and it's hard to get successful flash, larger firmware issues without timing out. So I've talked to a few different people. So far, multiple people have had success flashing. It just took a couple tries on the clones. And then another person said they could not get it to flash, and they're the ones who wrote into us by email to the news. So it is possible you will not be able to get this to work, or it'll take a bunch of tries, and it'll be really finicky if you do get one with a Clone MCU. So that is just something to know.
This is a shame because the TS100 there are reasons why, for example, the pine sill might be better, but the TS100 has been a solid choice and one of the better choices for these portable soldering irons. But if you couldn't flash Iron OS to it, then that to me would be a big downside. Well, what about the people who are just like, screw it, why am I going to flash my soldering iron? It's fine.
Yeah. If you're not considered to flash it, there shouldn't be any concern. As far as we know, they're not like dying or failing or something. It's just that DFU mode works oddly on some of these. So
yeah. Shaddai says just use a pine sill. It's a great iron. I do agree the pine sill is a great iron. If I remember right, the main downside is it only is rated for up to 5S, although there are ways you can make it work on 6S. Did they come up with a new pine sill that works on 6S, actually? I thought I heard that they had done that, now that I'm talking about it.
Not
pine
sure.
sill V2. They did come out with a V2. I think I reviewed the V1. Well, anyway. Iron OS already ported. It doesn't say. Oh, well, we'll have to look into that. No, it still says 12 to 24 volts, not 26 volts. But that was the old one. What was the old one? Dang it. The chat will tell me. The V2 still doesn't. No, the V2 is rated for 24 volts, which means you might get away with 6S. Anyway. There you go. We got the word out there about the TS100. We did our due diligence. Okay. Now, Blunty, the next story is about the FAA issuing an unlimited waiver to a drone company. And when I read that headline, I just think that means that the FAA said, do whatever you want. We don't care. No regulations. You guys are like, you're like the James Bond. You have the license to kill. You have the license to fly BVLOS. Is that what it means?
Kind of. I mean, before, so this company, American Robotics, who does a lot of these inspections and testing and stuff, had a license to research and development, crew training, and market surveys. The new exemption, which was given along with a fully automated BVLOS operation, provides the company with authority to operate its autonomous scout system drone commercially without limitations on use. So as far as I can tell, they wrote this waiver as basically like pretty much whatever you're doing with this set of drones, with this set of people, under these set of regulations, you're good. And just do what you need to do, sort of thing.
Wow.
And it's basically, I think the idea is supposed to be that this is because they've been, working with the FAA the entire way. They've been cooperating with them. They've applied for all their other waivers. They've been working under each of those waivers and stuff. So my understanding is a lot of this is based on that. And it's sort of good faith that the FAA is giving them more and more power. But I will say this is part of what people were concerned about, where this isn't directly that, but this is, these large companies will get waivers to do basically whatever they want in the airspace that we hope to carve out places for ourselves in. So.
So this is not a story that's like, hey, look, the FAA is being super cool, you guys. It's a story of like, look, the FAA is giving away our airspace, son of a.
I think you could look at it in both ways. It's not like we don't have rights to that airspace, but it is interesting that, basically everyone else has some restrictions on what they're allowed to do, where, the FAA is just whipping out, different licenses and going like, here, do whatever you need to do and don't worry about it. But they can't do that for a lot of other people. So I don't know. It's interesting. There's obviously a lot of oversight there, and there's a lot of situations where that's playing under, but it is, it's positive and concerning. I think it's both like, it's good that they are moving forward and doing exceptions and making rules to make new technologies available and let people build and learn on drones. I think it's also could be considered negative because it could be seen as giving large companies away rights that we don't have. And it will presumably just continue to be like that for the foreseeable future. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll have to see how that goes. Last up, we try to go out on a positive note, right? We're like the good things drones are doing in the world. And we've got a story here. Oh, this is not positive, Blunty. I was trying to spin it in a positive way, but the headline of the video is why you should be worried about this glacier. Now I'm worried, Blunty.
It's drones that are doing positive work, but it is about a unfortunately negative subject, which is glacial melting. So one thing they're trying to do is track better glacial melting. And one way that they can do that is with LIDAR. So in these cases, they're basically flying drones into these glacial caves, which are meltouts, and they're recording with LIDAR and mapping the caves, and then they're coming back to check and see what those changes in caves are. If you hop to around 7.5 minutes, or you can see more kind of what they're doing in there. But yeah, there you go.
Hold on, that's cool.
There you go. So they're basically trying to map those caves out. And get in there where it's much more dangerous for humans to go. It'll take much more time to do, and it's much more difficult. So, cool stuff. Wow. Another cool application for drones, where we can get more information about our ever-changing planet.
That's a hell of a way to put it. Ever-changing, various directions.
I noticed they took the ducks off. A couple of the shots. They had to pull those ducks off. They look a little ridiculous in there, but
yeah. How about that? Hey, wait, that's a human inside the cave. I thought it was too dangerous for humans in here. Oh, that's a cave expert. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
caving expert. I think we can. Expert. The glaciers melt. I mean, I don't think anybody can dispute that glacier is melting.
Sure.
I mean, there you go.
Problem solved.
I'm no geologist, but.
Is that who studies glaciers? Is there like a
glaciologists?
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it looks pretty melty. No, I'm no expert, but that's the glacier's melting. After this, I'm just gonna sit down and watch me an episode of Ow My Balls, and I'm sure everything's gonna be fine.
Fair enough.
And that is going to bring us to the end of the news. Before we go, we're going to read some super chats, because people do leave super chats during the news, even though we don't interrupt the news to read them, because the news is more important than your super chats. Righteous FPV, not you though, Righteous FPV. Thanks for a $20 super chat. Thank you for your continued service to the community. XX Unfazed X, thank you for $7 Canadian. What's your opinion on the RVS Yeet Mule frame in regards to quality? I'm looking at grabbing it as I'm building my brother a drone. I have no opinion on the RVS Yeet Mule as a frame. I'm aware that it exists. We covered it once on the new product roundup. Is it good quality carbon? Does the design have any flaws? I have no experience with it. It is, I don't know anybody who's used it. If you're into it, I don't think we thought there's anything wrong with it. Do you remember?
No, nothing wrong that I can remember.
It's fine. If you like it, get it. I'm gonna I have to get out of here. The chat is debating whether melting glaciers can raise sea levels. And it's making me want to stab myself in the face. If that's in fact is the conversation that's being had.
All right. Well, on that note.
No, I have to read more super chats. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I want to stab myself in the face and run away, but I can't because I have a responsibility.
Okay.
Mark Sullivan, thank you for a $5 super chat. And mere pittance for all you guys do. Thank you for your support. Ubaf, thank you for a 20. CZK could only flash back the TS100 via USB 2.0. Oh, so maybe if you have a problem with the TS100 and you're trying to flash it, try USB 2.0 instead of USB 3.0. Do me a favor. Get some ice cubes. Put them in a glass of water. Measure the level of the glass of water. Wait for the ice cubes to melt. And then see if the level of the water has gone up.
Also, science experiments.
Get some more ice cubes, and instead of having them be floating in the water, have them be on a plate next to the water. As if it was like a tectonic plate, a continent, and then slide the ice cubes off the plate into the glass and see if the water level goes up. You ever thought about the fact that with global warming happening, the ice wall that keeps all the water from falling off the edge of the flat Earth is going to melt? You ever think about that?
Yeah.
Why is nobody talking about that?
That's what everybody's so concerned about, right?
Why has no one flown a drone over the edge of the flat Earth? Somebody explain that to me.
All right.
I'm done. Good night, you guys. Good night, Blunty. Oh,
later, guys.
Oh, Jim Fan Hobby. I'm sorry, Jim Fan Hobby left us 8,900 COP. I'm going to guess that there's a terrible exchange rate of COP to USD. Otherwise, we're rich because we got 8,900 of them. Remember to flash your props to GemFan 2.0 too. All right, let's get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. We're leaving.
Oh.